127 of you. Thank you all for coming. Love the crowd. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for being here. As always, we want to thank Bates Printing for sponsoring this series. And we also want to thank the Dingler family in memory of Milton and Evelyn Dingler, our good friends here at the National Museum. And with that, it is my wonderful pleasure to introduce to you our speaker today, Barbara Turkeltaub. She, as you already know, because you have made a special effort to come today, is a child survivor of the Holocaust. She was born in the capital and cultural center of Lithuania, and at the very beginning of the war, she was taken to the ghetto. She showed me a precious photo of herself and her mother just a few minutes ago. Later, they were able to get away from there. They immigrated to Israel, where she was inducted into the Israeli army, I understand. She served as a nurse. I'm not going to take all your thunder, but that just overwhelmed me. I'm just really taken aback by that. She was the featured speaker last year at the City of Akron's Holocaust commemoration, and Nellie Toll, whom I hope you all met when she was here, was the speaker this year, so you know you're in very good company. And with that, I introduce our speaker, Barbara Turkeltaub.
Early this year, I was informed. Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Early this year, I was informed that a very lovely person, a lady, passed on in Canton, Ohio. She was a Holocaust survivor. In spite of everything that she went through, she managed to come to the United States. She raised a beautiful family, and she died as she lived with great dignity. But all of a sudden, when I heard this, I say, oh my God, I am the only one that's left in Stark County, only the one survivor. Now, all of a sudden, I started to and feel also urgency to speak. And why? Because there are still people that deny that that ever happened. Believe me, it happened. You only need to talk to the liberators, to American soldiers that liberated. Some years ago, I was attending the first gathering of Jewish survivors, Holocaust survivors in Jerusalem, Israel. And it was held in big auditorium. There were tables set up against the wall, and with the names of the cities of Eastern Europe where the Jewish people used to live for many, many generations. Around the tables, there were some people gathering, and I saw some posters with pictures on the wall behind the tables, and names, and they were still looking for somebody, maybe somebody, against any hope that somebody maybe still is alive, or maybe somebody will be able to tell them what happened to their loved ones. As I walked in and looked around at my table, I see the big sign, Vilnius, that's the city that I was born. And there were no pictures there. There were nobody there around the table. I just walked with great anticipation, hoping that I will see somebody pretty soon. Somebody will come and see me and maybe recognize me, or maybe will tell me something about my family. I was there for quite sometimes. I was there maybe for 2 hours. Nobody came. No one was there. And after a little while, I just walked away. And I thought to myself, how could it be? 80,000 Jewish people lived in that city. that was a cradle of Jewish culture. What happened? There are so many, the city produced so many famous people, poets, artists, writers. What happened? No one? Nobody's? I left with a tear in my eyes and pain in my heart. My family lived in Vilna for many, many generations. We were family just like any other family, middle-class family. I had two older sisters, one younger. My father was an accountant, a bookkeeper, worked for the city government. My mom was a seamstress and had a little business going. My grandfather lived with us. We were a happy family, and so that's what kept me going. And right now, I'm remembering this beautiful, beautiful time. Anyway, my childhood was stolen very quickly. The innocence was taken away. My introduction to war was one Sunday morning, beautiful day like today. I was playing outside with a group of children. The older kids were playing soccer. I was too young, so they didn't let me play with them, but I was watching and I was very enthusiastic, and I just sat there and had a good time. All of a sudden, one boy kicked that ball so hard that the ball passed me by and landed in a ditch. So I thought, oh, here's my opportunity to do something. So I ran after the ball and into the ditch. At that time, in a second, I heard these screeching noises from the heaven. And we saw planes flying very low, and there were bombs falling. And in the short time where there was a sun, became dark. The bricks were falling all over the place. Where there was a laughter, there was silence. And I felt somebody grabbing me and carrying me away. I have never seen the children after that. I never seen them, and nobody was talking. I didn't know what happened after that. You can imagine. It didn't take very long after that. I remember standing with my father on the street watching the German Nazi soldiers were marching. They looked like robots. They were greeted by the Lithuanian people with flowers and cheers, and they were happy to see them. Soon after that, it didn't take very long. I can't tell you exactly the times. I could not remember exactly the times, but and then wouldn't understand either. So, but soon afterwards, we were hoarded away taken away from our homes. We were told that we can take only the stuff that we can carry, and we were hoarded into ghettos. Now, ghetto, I have to tell you, ghetto in Vilnius was not ghetto like in United States, because when I came to United States, I heard people say that some people, oh, they are from the ghetto, they live in ghetto. I thought to myself, oh, crying out loud, here we go again. What ghetto? But then I found out that people with a lower economic situation, they live in a certain area, but they can go wherever they wanted to. They go to school, they go to work, they have roof over their head, they are not starving. That's not the ghetto that I'm talking about. The ghetto that I'm talking, it was barbed wire, and Nazi soldiers with machine guns were watching every few meters. You could not get out from ghetto. I many times stood behind the barbed wire and watched other children playing, and I thought to myself, why am I here? What have I done? Why there is a shade over here and sun over there? I didn't understand. I still don't. Life in Ghetto was a sheer hell. There was hunger, there was starvation, there was stench of rotting bodies and sewer. There were no water, there were no electricity, there are no showers to take. You would see children on the streets laying completely oblivious to everything, and some children were begging. Didn't have already parents because the parents had been taken away to slave labor camps and death camps. They were just left there. Myself and my sister, we were young. We were taken, not taken, we were going to a children's center. I call it children's center. There were lots of children. There was a large building that children would come there, and the only incentive to come there, you would get slice of bread with a little bit sugar, and that's the only incentive. There are 3 women that were sort of like supposed to be overseers, teachers. We didn't learn anything there, but we were just there while my parents went to work, to a slave camp. They were working all day, and then in the evening they would come home and pick us up, and we would come to our home. I'll tell you, it was 1 room, but 15 by 15, small room, and that room was divided with a curtain because there was other family lived in this 1 room. So I remember one incident when buses came to the children's center, and buses that looked like school buses here, except they had no windows, and about 4 or 5 buses, and Nazi soldiers came out of there and talked to the women there that took care of us. And very soon after that, they started to call the names of the children from the list that they had. I didn't hear my name, maybe they did call, but I had a feeling that this is something not good, something that's happening. So I caught my sister, and we were hiding behind the building. There was a little bit vegetation and bushes. We were hiding behind it. So when the buses were full, they drove away from there. That evening, when parents came to pick up the children, I could hear from far away already the cries of desperation. They had found out somehow that the children were taken away from there. So, such cries, such despair beyond description. My mother picked us up quickly, and we came home. That evening, my father put me on that stool, kneeled in front of me, and for the first time, he told me what was happening. He says to me, "Barbara, there is a terrible war going around. In order for us to survive this, we'll have to separate. We'll have to separate. You will go with a person that we arrange, that he will come and pick you up, and you will go to his house, to the village nearby, and mother will go to another place, and I, with your 2 older sisters, will go to another place. And don't worry," he says, we will get together. When this is not going to last very long. We'll get together, and we'll be together again. Don't worry, don't worry. The only thing I want you to say, if somebody is asking you, where are your parents? Tell them that the bomb fell on the house and I don't know where my parents are. Don't speak Yiddish, speak only Polish. We spoke several languages, so I'll speak only Polish. Tell them that your name is Barbara, your sister is Leah, and we don't know anything else. Don't say anything else. Don't tell them your last name, because your last name is very, well, my last name is very Jewish, it's Horowitz, so not to tell the last name. I didn't understand why, but he said, don't say the last name. That evening, the same evening, a man came. I recognized the man because that man used to deliver milk in our neighborhood. And he took us, and with him we had to go. But let me tell you the separation from parents, how difficult, how terribly difficult it was. My mother was holding my sister. She was just, I was about 5 or 6 years old. My sister is 2 years younger. And she was holding her, and she was saying a prayer. In Hebrew, she was saying, Eli, Eli, lama azavteni, my Lord, why have you forsaken us? The man took us. He came with horse and buggy. They probably paid off the guards, and he covered us with hay and a burlap, and we left, and we came to the village nearby. In the village, he had 7 children, by the way. He told the children that were their cousins, and so that it was okay. And in the village, it wasn't, for a little while it seems like it's a peaceful place. For a little while it seems to be good, comparing to Ghetto. Of course. We were happy to be there. We missed our parents, but we were happy to be there. We were given little chores to do, and we did this, and it was okay. And I felt safe, and I felt that my father and my mother will come pretty soon to take us. Well, I have overheard one evening I have overheard that the farmer's wife was telling him, it is too dangerous to hold these 2 Jewesses here. People will start talking, it's too dangerous. Take them, tomorrow is Friday, tomorrow is the marketplace, take them with you and to the marketplace, and after you have done what you need to do on marketplace, take them to Gestapo. I didn't know exactly what Gestapo is. I didn't understand, but I felt that that's something that it's not good. So I thought to myself, dear Lord, what to do? And I decided to run away that evening, that night. But there was a problem with my sister. She was forever hungry, and she always wanted to eat. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? So I snuck into the pantry, sliced some bread, and I saw some on the shelves. There was some honey, and so I took the honey, I put on the bread, and I thought I'll give it to her and say, Leah, come on, here is something to eat, and come on, let's get out. And she took the bread, and she was very happy, and she was eating. I took her by the hand, and after a little while, I see the bubbles are coming out from her mouth, from her nose, from her ears, for crying out loud. What's happening here? That was not the honey, that was salt that they had there. Well, I thought I killed my sister, so she's going to die any minute. Well, anyway, she wouldn't let me give it. She didn't give me the bread. She kept eating that soap and everything, and we ran. I can't tell you how far. There was only one road. You can go left to right. Well, I always like to go right, so I went right. So it's not a big decision. So how far we went, I can't tell you. We were running for a little bit, then we were walking, then we got very, very tired. And we saw like a kiln. There was a small factory of bricks and a kiln that still felt like warm. So we went off the road and sat down next to the kiln and probably fell asleep, only to be awakened maybe several hours later by a man that stood right there in front of us and had a very kind smile and asked us, who are we? Well, I remember what my father told me is, I'm Barbara, this is my sister Leah, a bomb fell on the house, I don't know where we are. And then he knew, he looked and he knew that there are no other homeless children except Jewish children. So it's two little girls, and he did the right thing, knowing very well, if caught, that he would be executed on the spot. So, sure, I was very happy to go with him, and so he also had a horse and a buggy. At that time, everybody seems to have horse and a buggy and a hay and a burlap. So he put us on the buggy, he covered us with the hay and the burlap, and we ended up he brought us to convent. Nuns came out quickly, took us in, and that's where we remained for quite a few years. I wanted to tell you that even 2 years after the war, in that convent, nobody bothered to tell us that the war was over. I had no idea. Had no idea that the war was over. Anyway, the nuns were very, very good to us. They were not exactly hugging and embracing, but they were doing everything that they could to bring us to help. My sister was not well because she had a terrible infection on her hair and her face. The farmer, we were sitting at the table, like I told you before, that she always was hungry. She didn't wait long enough till the prayers were said, and she grabbed a piece of bread, so he got upset, and he threw a knife at her, and it slit her. Till today, she has a big mark on her head. Anyway, that became infected later. By the way, I want to tell you, he would do this to his own children. That's, you know, the European fathers at that time probably would sit in jail today for abusing the kids, because that's how they were behaving, most of them anyway. So they took care of her, and they took a long time, but they healed the wounds that she had. And we were taught, we were christened, we were taught into Catholic religion. I believed in everything that they taught me. I had tremendous belief in God, in Jesus, and I pray every single day. I was, you know, like they say, a childlike belief. You don't ask question, you just believe. And I could see the angels, I could see the all saints, I could see Jesus embracing me. I could see, that made me very comfortable, that made me very secure. And all this time that we were there, we were taught reading, writing, and arithmetic. Not very much about politics or even history, not very much either, because that was not politically correct, and the nuns would not do that. If you ask me what's the name of your Mother Superior, I cannot tell you. We call her Mother. What was the name of the priest that took you there? I don't know exactly. I think his name was John, but I'm not sure because we call him Father. So so that's how it went. Anyway, one day a priest comes to me, calls me, and he tells me there is a lady that's looking for that lost her children. She is looking for her children. She thinks that you might be one of her children. Barbara, would you like to meet her? Well, let me tell you, I remember my parents very well, but I was so frightened, and already so many years went by, I didn't really want to change anything. I was happy where I was. I wanted to be where I am, and so I really didn't want to meet my mom. I really didn't. Isn't that awful? And so I say no. Well, this priest did not give up. Every now and then he would come and he asked the same question. And finally he says, Barbara, she's looking for her children. She's such a poor lady. It would be good for you at least to talk to her. And so finally I agree, and I walk into the office, and I see my mother was a tall woman, a good-looking lady. To me, she was beautiful. I have a picture of her right now here. And here I see an old lady with a babushka. You know what babushka is? They're sitting there looking terrible. That's not like my mom. And so I looked at her and I say to her, I'm so sorry that you lost your children, but I have to go. And I went straight to the door, and then I hear her voice, Basha, Barbara, I am your mom. Ich bin deine Mama. In Yiddish, I am your mother. I love you. I look for you. I recognize her voice. And sure. So I told her I will go with you only if you will come to the church, to the convent. And so she says, yes, I will come. Yes, I will come. And after a little while, we left. And at that time, my mother, during when she was hiding, she also she couldn't go with my father because she was expecting a child at that time, and so she gave a birth to a little boy, and it was discovered, she and other women, and they were taken to Ponari, which is a very famous forest that they did the murder. They murdered all the people there in the Ponari. So she was taken there. While she was going there, she left. They were the women that all of them. They had babies. They fed the babies with a little, like a sucker full with poppy seeds, and so the babies slept. They drugged them with this opium, I guess, and so they all were quiet. Well, anyway, she left him in like a little basket. She made a decision to when they were coming close. They were told that they're going to work, but as they were coming close to the forest, they recognized that this is not going to work, and they knew that what's going to happen. So she left this little bundle by this sidewalk where there were some bushes and sidewalk, and left him there, hoping that maybe somebody will find him and take him. Well, anyway, he survived. There was a couple that lived in that building and that didn't have children, and they raised him. By the time I met him, he was already about 2 or 3 years old. Unruly, terrible child. Screaming, yelling, crying. I am not used to this. I said, Mom, give him back. Let him go back. My poor mom wanted to keep us all together. We were running 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to church for the mass, and he wanted to go to his parents, you know, and making all sorts of noises and screaming and yelling. So my mother took us all together and left Lithuania. We came to Poland. She had some help from people there, and they helped her to get the necessary papers, and we came to Poland to lodge. We came to lodge. There is no place where to go. There was no place to live, so she placed us in a children's home. It's an orphanage, but most of the children had somebody, either a mother or maybe somebody from family, maybe like uncle or aunt, and we were there. And in 1952, my mother had all the papers ready for us to leave Poland also, because Poland at that time was very communistic and she was afraid of that also. She didn't want to stay there, so we went to Israel. Israel welcomed us, but it was very challenging. That was a very difficult place to be. Talking about the army, let me tell you, I'm not a good candidate for Israeli army on top of it all. I didn't go voluntarily, believe me. I was in a bus going from Tel Aviv, from Haifa to Tel Aviv. All of a sudden there was a military police, and anybody that looked the age of military, which is 17 years, 17, 18, they would say, yalla, yalla, out, out, out. So before I knew I was out, by then I was already accepted to nursing school, a very good nursing school, but it didn't start in the school year. Well, I didn't know Hebrew enough to explain to them, and they didn't listen. So I end up in Israeli army in a desert. And I had to go through 6 weeks of training. I cannot even begin to tell you what an awful thing that was, and how I survived. It's by the grace of God. At one time, I want to tell you, I was sitting there. We were digging a hole. We were sitting in that hole. Every few meters, somebody. I didn't like to sit in. I dug the hole, but I didn't like to sit by myself there. It's a desert. So I saw a whole bunch of soldiers over there. I thought, well, they're not going to sit here, I'm going there. And so I ran there, and they didn't know who I was. And so finally, I thought they were going to have a court-martial or something, deserter or something. Anyway, I want to tell you, by the time I left, by the time they found out that I am actually accepted to nursing school, nurses don't go to army. Nurses are being trained in the hospital for army, you know, like field hospitals, things like that. So they don't officially go to army, but they are trained in a different way. So, but by the time I left, they lift their hands up to the heaven and say, thank you, God, that she left. And I'm too. Anyway, in Israel I met my husband, who came to visit his one sister that survived. And I met him, and we got married. And he was from Canton, Ohio, so I came to Canton, Ohio. I raised my wonderful family. I have a son and a daughter and three wonderful grandchildren. I want to tell you, if you see something unjust, something evil is happening to one person because of color of their skin, or because the way they pray, or because of their ethnic background, you cannot pretend that you don't see, you don't know, you don't hear, or it's not your business. It is your business. You have to see. You have to take a stand. You have to take a stand. Because you see, it can happen to any group of people. It can happen to any group of people. You have to be responsible. You have to care for one another. One person can make a difference. I am here because of one person. What about Oskar Schindler? Because of one person. Look how many people. And there was even whole countries that defied Hitler and helped like Denmark. You know, you have to care for one another. Everybody has the right to be where they are. And I wanted to tell you that I'm very glad to be alive. I'm very glad that I came to this wonderful country. My beautiful adopted country. And may God bless USA. Thank you.
That's about the most moving program we've had. I've never heard you all so quiet. Thank you, Barbara, so much. She says she's willing to take a couple of questions. What if we do maybe 3 or 4 questions? Anybody? Oh boy, we have questions. Glenn?
Did you ever find out what happened to your dad and your older sisters?
We were told that he was in partisans. Do you know what partisans are? The freedom fighters. And that he decided, against the advice of others, to get into the city because he was hoping that maybe he can save somebody. And as the Nazi soldiers were retreating, they caught him and they shot him and my 2 sisters. So that's what we were told, but I don't know exactly. I don't know what happened before that. So we were a very large family. My father had 3 sisters and 4 brothers. So all of my family and relatives, and all of them were murdered.
Julie, that's what I wanted to ask. If any other families from either side survived?
Only my mother, my sister, and this little impossible brother here. Yeah, that's the only. He's right now, by the way, he's going to be 70 years old, my little brother. He lives in Cleveland.
And is he still full of energy?
Sure. Sure, he's still crazy.
Another question? Maggie?
I think we would all like to say we're very glad you're here, so welcome.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. Believe me, I have traveled everywhere almost. I know the whole Europe. Sometimes when I go there, my worst thing is to think that, oh my gosh, I lost my passport. I want to go home. This is my home. This is still, with all its trials and tribulations, this is still the best country in the world.
One more question. Anybody have one more question? Yes.
So you practice Judaism now, or did you convert to the Catholic Church?
Well, you know what? I don't know how to answer you. I'm constantly at Walsh University with the brothers. I take care of them. And I go to Mass once in a while with them. You know, I feel very comfortable. You know what? I can probably sing the Mass in Latin better than most Catholics. But at the same time, my mother took us to the most religious Jewish Hebrew education. And so I have learned Hebrew and I love it. I teach Hebrew right now and I feel I am Jewish, you know. So I feel very comfortable in synagogue, and I feel very comfortable in the church. So take your pick.
I suspect that there will be some people who want to ask you a few more questions privately when we're finished here. Thank you all so much for coming, and next month, the 4th Tuesday of June, we will have our very own Sally Whiston here. She's not here today, she's usually sitting right here. Oh, I guess I let it out. She's not really Julia Grant. But I want you to think that Julia Grant is coming to visit us next month. Again, thank you for this meaningful program.